Yeah, that's amazing, Rich. And then fast forward to what you're doing today, like we talked about in the intro with you being a studio host, and also doing play-by-play work for ESPN. How do you prepare differently when getting ready for a game to do play-by-play compared to your studio host duties with the Rays?
Well, if I'm able to use visual cues, Colton, I could show you exactly what you're talking about. Because in the here and now, if I wasn't talking to you on this Zoom call, what I would be doing is poring over different websites and notes and things like that, preparing for tonight's Rays and Rangers game in Tampa as the pre and post game host. So I have a notebook. I am still very old school, and I write my entire first segment out on a sheet. So I don't script things, but I jot things down. So game after game after game, I am basically taking care of the very first segment of the show. And why do I do that for just the first segment of the show? Because we have 4 segments in every pregame show. I do that for a couple of reasons. One, because the first segment of the show is the one that I could prepare for the earliest. I already know after last night's final score essentially what we're going to be talking about. And then my producer later on in the day sends me the rundown, so I know for sure. But essentially I know what I'm going to be talking about. It's up for me to decide how I want to deliver that, how I want to communicate that. So I write those things down by way of habit. I think it's really important for sportscasters to have a routine, to get as comfortable as they can in that routine. And then I also use, as you could see, I also use the margin to take notes on the visiting team that I might not be that aware of or that familiar with, certainly not as familiar as I am with the Rays, covering them 162 games. So I use this notebook paper as a template. When we get to segments 2, 3, and 4, it's all that extemporaneous stuff that I just talked about from my experience at HSN. I am literally just jotting notes down to jog my memory about, oh, yeah, this is exactly what I want to say. And I'll also use that time to write down specific notes for statistics. If I think it's an interesting thing to add at the end of a segment or the end of a topic, I'll have that written down. I by no means hold myself accountable to memorize a script or B, any statistic. Anything that I'm coming up with is almost always and exclusively written down in front of me. That might be a little too much of a peek behind the curtain, but it's true. Why would I force myself to memorize something when I have it right here in front of me? And that way I know I get it right and I'm not guessing or thinking or generalizing. I want to be as specific as possible. And really, segments 2, 3, and 4, my job transitions more to teeing up my analyst, engaging him in conversation, going live to the field and talking to our sideline reporter or our broadcast analyst. There's a lot of moving parts. I'm a glorified traffic cop. That's what my day is usually like during baseball season. It's completely different when I'm calling basketball games during the fall and winter months. And I wish I had one in front of me, but I don't. The boards that I keep, again, mostly handwritten. I've given myself over to the electronic digital age, and I have my boards printed out for me, but I am still scribbling down a ton of chicken scratch on there to basically prepare myself as best I can for 2 teams that I may or may not be intimately familiar with. When I have that done, again, I don't count on myself to memorize things. The only thing I memorize are names and numbers. I think for a play by play announcer, that is your job and your responsibility. Names and numbers have to be memorized. So you don't have, when a goal is scored, when a touchdown is scored, when a home run is hit, you don't first have to go, that one's driven deep. Who's the name? Who's not? And Colton Tobias hits a home run. You know it because you have his name and his number memorized. That is baseline for me. And I learned that from reading Marv Albert's autobiography, I'd Love to, But I Have a Game. He used to put index cards all around his hotel room, wherever he was traveling, of different names and numbers of the players and the teams he was covering that night. It's not done by memorization by way of magic tricks. It's done by hard work and spending the time and investing that time before you go on the air to do it. So that's what I do. I make sure I have the names and numbers memorized. All the other information, if I use 10% of it, Colton, I feel like I've had a good game, because you can't force feed all this information. Even though you've written it down, it must be worth something. Maybe a nugget or two will wait till the next game, the next time you're covering that particular team. But the game dictates what stories you tell, what information you share with the audience, what access you give to the people watching and listening, not what I have written down. Oh, I have 5 more stories. We have 2 minutes left in the game. I got to cram these in. That's a bad broadcast. And it's a bad job as you being the broadcaster. You want to let the game tell the story. Al Michaels is the first one that I heard say this, and I love this quote. The game is the music, and we, the play-by-play announcers, provide the lyrics. And that's what I'm trying to do. The song is out there. The song is what we're listening to or watching. That's the music. All we do is provide clips and captions and phrases to add some color and some meaning to that. That's the lyrics.